Alright, everybody. Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. Who's ready to hit the dungeons, huh? The answer is we are. So I progressed on the main story quite a bit in between episodes. And basically, once you get to around level 15 in the main scenario quests, the game is going to send you to the two other city-states, Lenosha and... or not Lenosha, Limsa Lominsa and Gridania. And so I already started exploring those places. I unlocked... let's see. I unlocked Conjurer, which I will need for Paladin. Lancer for Keen Flurry. Archer for Raging Strikes. And Rogue for Shade Shift. Right now I am using, on my cross-class skills, I'm using Shade Shift, which comes from Rogue. What this does is it creates basically a shield that blocks all physical damage up to 20% of your maximum HP. So basically, I've got what, close to 600 HP right now. So basically, that would be, oh God. That will absorb about 120 HP of damage. So that'll absorb a 120 damage hit, I think. I think I'm doing the math right there. 10% of 600 is 60. And because this is 20%, it would be 120. Yeah, okay, So yeah, that'll absorb a fair amount of physical damage. So it's actually a decent cooldown at this level. Still have Second Wind, and then I have Raging Strikes, which comes from Archer, which is a big DPS cooldown. It's much longer recast than Internal Release, but it increases your damage dealt by 20%, which is way better than just like 10% crit rate increase, so that's what I'm using. And this is stuff that I do recommend you do as a new tank. Like, go around, pick up cross-class abilities. Just because they are from DPS jobs does not mean that they're not useful to you. And a lot of DPS jobs have personal mitigation cooldowns that they use while soloing or while handling certain mechanics and fights. And you can cross-class those, and they actually make decent tanking cooldowns for low levels. Not that you're going to be taking that much damage, but, I mean, you know, if you get stuck with like a really bad healer or something, I don't know. It's just stuff that you can do to maximize yourself at this level. It's all going to get obsolete after you get a job, but, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, so I went and did all of that, and so now we are going to go to Western Lenosha. And this is where the first dungeon is. The first dungeon is called Sastasha, and it is very well known for being a very, very easy, very boring first dungeon. I mean, there are some mechanics you have to handle, and but you know, I'm not too worried about them. One thing I do want to do before I go in there is buy myself a new sword, because all my gear is pretty good except for that sword. I could use a sword that's a little bit better, I think. Purchase weapons. Okay. Ow, god damn it, he's only gonna have stuff for... oh man. Well, let me see if there's any armor I can get that is better. Not that I can equip right now. Yeah. Alright, so sorry about that. I'm gonna have to run back to Limsa Lominsa and hit the market board, I guess. So the thing about going into dungeons on a tank, your ability to hold aggro is only as good as your gear. If your DPS outgear you, it's going to be difficult to hold aggro, even if you're doing the perfect rotation. So you, more than any other job, I mean, a DPS and even maybe even a healer, to a lesser extent, can get away with going into a dungeon at less than the maximum gear level. You know what I mean? But oh man, God, I hate buying shit off the market board at this level. I don't know where I would buy that. Oh, God, let me just Google this real quick. XIV brass Viking sword. See if there's a merchant that sells it. I feel like there should be. Sold by merchants. Okay, Camp Drybone. Okay, so yeah, let's just go there. Eastern Thanalan. Sorry, I know we're getting off to a slow start here, but it'll pick up. And this is giving me an opportunity to tell you some stuff. Yeah, as a tank, more than all the other roles, it is most important for you to go into a dungeon with the best gear that you can get. And right now, Sastasha, the item level for Sastasha is level 15 to 18, I think. And what level am I? I'm level 18. Okay, so good. So I'm actually in a really good spot, but I'm just gonna try and make this as foolproof as possible so you can see that your first run of a dungeon need not be painful. And it may still be painful. I mean, if we get the right combination of jobs in there, it could wind up being very difficult for me to hold aggro. Particularly if there's like a black mage or something. Or not a black mage, but a thaumaturge. I mean, we could get a black mage sink down. But, you know, I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure that things go smoothly. Anyway, so here we go. Get that taken care of. These accessories aren't great. They're only item level 5, but these starting accessories that the game starts you with are actually really good for tanks because they have both vitality and strength on them, which means that these accessories are the biggest boost to your HP and to your DPS as a tank for a good while, actually. If I remember correctly, you don't get accessories with both vitality and strength on them until like level 25, 28, something like that. But yeah. Wait a minute. I think I might have goofed up. There may be another step in the quest that I have to go through before we can properly queue for the dungeon. Yep. God damn it. That's annoying. Okay, I have to go back to Limp's Elements again. I'm sorry, guys. Promise you I'll be paying far more attention once we get in the dungeon. It's been a long time since I've played the early stages of this game, and this is like the first alt that I've made that I'm actually like taking somewhat seriously. I've made alts for like social reasons, to, like go back to servers that I've been on and keep in touch with people, but nothing that I actually like made any kind of real progress on. I believe they were by the Fisherman's Guild. Limp's Elements can be really hard to navigate too, just because the map of the place looks really crazy, but it's actually very easy if you just stick to the aetheryte crystals. Okay. We're almost there, and don't worry, if there's any kind of queue time, we'll cut that out. Which there shouldn't be, because I'm on a tank, but it is very late at night, so the queue time might actually... The queue could take a while. I won't lie, I'm nervous. Tanking on Gladiator at low levels is a special kind of hell. But I've taken every possible, just everything that I can think of. All right. Here we are. So these icons on your map, right here. I'm sorry, stop looking at Sif for a second and look at the map. So these icons on your map are dungeons. So if you see any on your map that you haven't unlocked yet, that it kind of gives you an idea of what you have, you know, what's in store for you, I guess. Anyway. Use the duty finder to enter Sastasha. Alright, here we go. Instance raids. This is not a raid, but, you know, whatever. Anyway, here we go. Yes, I know how to use the duty finder, believe it or not. Now, I know I'm skipping through a lot of this stuff, and it's not necessarily super beginner-friendly. Oh my god, can I do undersized parties, like, from the very beginning of the game? Jesus, I had no idea. So, even though this Let's Play is kind of, sort of, meant to be instructional and educational and whatever, it's kind of a guide, I guess. I'm not going to cover, like, basic game mechanics, like... you know, navigating these menus and stuff like that. Like, I feel like, you know, people should be able to figure that out for themselves. And if they do, you know, if you have any questions about that, there are other guides out there. Although I did, you know, like I said in the first couple episodes, I do like to cover the HUD and optimizing that and some other things. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and queue for this, and I will see you guys when the queue pops. Okay, which is right now. I did not even get to cut it out. Alright, here we go. Nervous now, checking my gear. I'm hoping to pleasantly surprise these people. Because they're gonna see me, and they're gonna see the little sprout next to my head, and they're gonna be like, oh god, it's a gladiator in a low level dungeon, and they're new. But, you know. But I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna skip the cutscene. Looks like I'm not the only newbie. Oh god, all these people are relatively new. Okay, so yeah, none of these people have jobs unlocked. You know, which is fine, but I don't know. Alright, so you wait for your healer to cast buffs before you run off doing any of that stuff. Oh man, that summoner is... chomping at the bit there. Alright, so we see here that they're not really focusing down any one mob. Also, the summoner has their tanking Carby out, which is annoying to say the least. Not gonna lie. I'm actually gonna have to say something. Hey! Alright. So Arcanists have a carbuncle that is a tanking carbuncle, and that's the one that this Arcanist is using. And I have to ask them really politely to use the other one. They're actually talking about the boss. There's a boss mechanic later that where you have to pay attention to the color of a crystal, I think, something like that. I don't know. Anyway. Alright, so now it should be a little bit easier for me to keep aggro. So yeah, I'm basically just gonna flash a bunch of times. And I'm not going to bother marking mobs, but right now it looks like they're focusing down the Cave Aurelia the most. Another neat thing about Flash is that you can use it without interrupting your combo, you know, which is really nice. Once you get down to a single mob, you can go ahead and start using Savage Blade. Now, Savage Blade is actually more enmity on more aggro on a single target than Flash, because it's 200 potency, and then it's that with a 3.5x modifier. So 200 times 3.5 is 700. Flash doesn't do damage, but it's 600 potency of aggro flat, basically. Which is great in an AoE, but beyond that, you know. And also, if you look at my party list, you can kind of see underneath everyone's icon, you can see their aggro meter, like immediately below their little icon when we're engaged in combat. And yeah, so that will kind of tell you who you need to keep an eye on. These Shade Seeker things are so weak and die so fast that they almost aren't even worth worrying about. You could probably pull bigger in here, but I'm avoiding doing that strictly because everybody in this party is new, or at least appears to be. I mean, they could be like me, and they could be alts. But the Emerald Carby has a little knockback. It can be annoying sometimes, but it's not annoying enough to where I need to say anything about it. When we get to the boss fight, I'll talk a little bit more about aggro meters and such. Yeah, those clams right there, as soon as you kill them, those little super weak flame ads stop showing up. Alright, now here's where I'm trying to be a little risky. Pulled quite a bit of things there, actually. Oh, I pulled the rest of them. That's what I get for not panning my camera around, but it's not really a big deal this early on. Just make sure you pop your cooldowns. You got Rampart and pop that second wind there. Yeah, as long as you just Fast Blade, Riot Blade, and then Flash, you'll continue to maintain your MP and your enmity pretty well. So it's really not super difficult. You do want to tab back and forth between targets and check the enmity list. Like this target right here that just died, the Pugilist was really high on aggro there. Try and give the healer a little bit of a rest and just focus on these for now. Just gonna regenerate my MP a little bit, just Riot Blading. Yeah, this really isn't too bad. I'm just glad that Arcanist listened to me. Because they could have chosen to give me a hard time about it. I'm glad they didn't. I wasn't gonna even say anything, but I noticed it was actually difficult to hold aggro off the thing. Alright, so they said red, so we're gonna go ahead and activate the red coral thingy. And here's the first boss fight. Eventually. So you go ahead and you pop any offensive cooldowns you have. And I'm just using Savage Blade right now because I need to maintain enmity and it's a single target, so I'm just doing that. So you can see here the Arcanist is actually second on the enmity list, and now the Conjurer is. God damn, it's annoying. It's not annoying enough for me to give him a hard time about it, but it is annoying. Yeah, don't stand in the poop, maintain aggro, really not too difficult. And really, as things get more difficult, you have just that many more tools to deal with it. So convalescence helps a little bit here, because hopefully, you know, this healer does look like they're trying to DPS maybe a little bit. I don't think they've quite got the hang of cleric stance yet, because they just healed me in cleric a little while ago. But they are at least trying to DPS, so convalescence helps with that. That Arcanist is just standing there doing nothing, though, so that's kind of annoying. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything to him. This isn't a... What? Why are we numbering? Don't number. I don't need to number. Somebody's looking out for me, and I appreciate that, but I haven't had too many aggro problems yet. Come on, kill the one. God damn. They let that one sit there with like a sliver of HP for like forever. Okay, so I think that this healer is probably an alt of some kind. Sometimes the terrain can get a little annoying, especially when you're dealing with, actually I'm gonna pull, hopefully I can get them to, yeah. So if you have a ranged mob that you're dealing with, they're not gonna move, they're just gonna continue to peck on you from a distance. And you don't want that, so you want everything to be nicely grouped up and neat and everything. So what you do is you drag the melee mobs over to the ranged ones. This healer kind of seems like they know what they're doing, so... I feel a little bit comfortable doing some slightly bigger pulls. Yeah. That healer is not as new as their little sprout icon lets them on. So when they were telling the DPS to limit break, that was directed at the DPS. Tank LB is not something that you want to use in dungeons, really. And if you are needing to use Tank LB in a dungeon, I feel pretty safe in saying that the problem lies elsewhere. Alright. I don't know who pulled those, but they did. pretty evenly focusing down these mobs. So this is like something where, like, if you number your targets, it can help the DPS know which ones that you want them to focus down first. But if you're doing what I'm doing, you don't really need to. I find it to be pretty unnecessary. Yeah, you need to switch targets and you need to use flash and all that stuff, but, you know, it's not a big deal, I don't think. That... God. They are healing me in cleric stance, though. Which, I don't know. I guess at this low of a level you can afford to, maybe? I don't know. Shit, I should have eaten food. I should have eaten food. So you want to eat food when you go into dungeons because... it boosts your experience. I want to tell them that they don't need to number for me, but, you know, I don't want to waste time or take my hands off the controller to type that. So once you're down on single target, if you are worried about aggro, Savage Blade is more efficient than Riot Blade, because even though it does less damage, it generates enough enmity where you're not going to have to flash. Oh my god. So yeah, the boss calls out those ads there, and it's a little bit of a clusterfuck for a second, but it's pretty easy to get under control. Yeah, not too bad. The healer really is healing me in cleric stance, but I don't know. Healing is not my forte, so I'm not going to give them crap about it. Get over here. They're keeping me alive, which is all that's really important. So right here we've got an archer ad, so we're going to make sure the mobs are nice and grouped up next to him, because he's the one that's not going to move. I am trying to pull everything here because I want a full clear. I want the experience. And if you're the tank, I don't know, you have that luxury. You decide whether it's a full clear or not. Which is definitely a nice luxury to have. But yeah, some of these mobs you can just kind of skip. But I don't want to. Yeah, all you have to do is look at the mob that's dying the fastest to know where you should kind of focus your efforts. God damn, that is annoying. It's really, I know I keep bitching about it, but it really isn't enough to where I want to say anything about it. But, it can occasionally cause problems, but not really. It's not worth giving somebody a hard time about. Definitely want to worry about the Pugilist, because the Pugilist is probably going to be the biggest... I don't know how that thing's dying so fast. That must be the Carby, and their aggro. Summoners and Arcanists, their pets generate their own separate aggro, which you can't see. Same thing for Scholars, the healer sort of evolution of Arcanist. But, you know. You're gonna see people get high on the aggro meters until you get your tank stance, but don't worry about it. Like, it's okay for them to be high on it. They don't... It's fine. As long as they don't take aggro from you, then you're totally fine. So that healer is actually pretty good. They have a promising future. I don't know, it might be too soon to say that, but... yeah, I'm impressed with the healer. So this fight has a mechanic where the DPS are supposed to hop off the boss and take care of those ripples so that we don't get a shit ton of ads. But, honestly, a lot of groups these days just burn him and wind up being okay. If ads do spawn, you should go pick them up. And there they are. Of course, if they limit break right now, it won't even be a problem. And the DPS are totally not remembering the limit break, but it's okay. It's alright. If this was a DPS sort of tutorial guide thingy walkthrough, then I would be giving the DPS more shit. Those are for casters. And there you go. There is the first dungeon. maybe I should have said something to them about their cleric stance usage, but I don't know. I didn't want to nitpick that bad. They kept me alive, and they were conscientious of mechanics and things like that, so, you know. And they DPS'd, which, even if they healed me in cleric stance a little bit, I mean, you know. Dungeons are considered more casual content, and in more casual content, I usually like to leave people alone unless it's really, really causing a problem, you know? Like that Arcanist having the Carbuncle out was really going to get on my nerves. Like, I could tell it was. So I asked them up front, like, that they needed to put that away. But anyway, so we got 2 more dungeons to do on Gladiator, and then I'm going to be moving over to Marauder, at least until after I unlock Paladin. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut this episode here, guys, and on the next episode, we'll be going to the next dungeon. So, yeah, look forward to that. Later, everybody.